But remember that they're changing my voice. So why have I created two new words? One for Jews, J-E-U, and one for whites, W-H-Y-T-E. But they're not the same as the word Jew and the word white. We'll get to that. Well, I did it once to not break the rules on YouTube. And two, which is also very important, I did it so I could be less offensive to everybody. You'll see what I mean. Now, it's going to be very difficult for me to explain my points while using these words, while fumed and poisoned and harassed, taunted, provoked, you name it. And by people who are from the white, Jewish, and LGBT communities, lots and lots of these people and their allies. But I'm going to do it anyway, even though I'm the victim of racist harassment every single day. And I have 23 witnesses on record to that harassment. And I filed many reports in a society dominated by white, Jewish, and LGBT rich people, refuses to respond in a logical and sane and fair way to my reports, while they financially sabotage me and cause me physical harm, which makes it harder for me to file lawsuits, what have you. Okay. So first, let's ask ourselves, why do I feel the need to do this? Well, listen very carefully, take notes, please. They have conditioned people in their unconscious minds to believe that black people are naturally what they aren't, which is inferior, instead of making it so the construct is designed for people to live in reality. They have designed the construct to be what I call a fairy Luciferian construct, designed to keep people from seeing me for who I am, and thus it is designed to keep people from rallying to me and obeying God through me. So again, they have conditioned people in their unconscious mind, their subconscious brain processes, what have you, to believe that black people are naturally what they aren't, which is inferior. And instead of the construct being designed for people to live in reality, it is designed for what I call a fairy Luciferian construct, which is designed to keep people from seeing me for who I am, the top martial artist, what have you, and to keep people from obeying God through me. Now, when you look at the history of America, you know for sure that I'm right. I go as far as say 99.999% of people will know immediately that I'm right, no matter how you slice it. Society is designed to elevate all kinds of unsavory people. That's why politicians are elected. They get all these very bad people who are politicians, they get elected. Why? Because they're keeping you from thinking straight, from coming together. They're keeping you from coming together for something that makes sense. And so you get these bad guys who won't even end homelessness. They let everything get way corrupt, and they just take money behind the scenes and what have you. Pretty straightforward. So that's why I need to kind of explain what the problem is. We live in a society of white, Jewish, and LGBT supremacy. But recently I made a video about whether homosexuality is a mental illness or not. And that video got taken down, even though I started off by saying, no offense to the LGBT community. And the purpose of the video was to get to the bottom of the issue. Long ago, psychiatrists in America came to the conclusion that it was, and they put it in the DSM, and it was removed for political reasons. And I'm not saying whether I think it is or isn't in this video, to maintain the rules. But that's part of what inspired this video. People are not drawing the line fairly. For example, if they cared so much about people from a protected group not being stigmatized or hurt, then why don't they ban gang expressions on social media? Gangs stigmatize their races, and they kill each other, and they inspire all kinds of violence. Why don't they do that? They drew the line in a place that is unbelievably wrong in regards to that video. But they didn't even think to draw the line like anywhere when it comes to gangs, even though in 2023, 615 or so people were murdered in Chicago alone. And the vast majority of those murders were related to gangs. Satanic gangs, who quite often, these members in popular culture go to jail and become gay. So it's okay for gays to stigmatize everyone else, but it's not okay to explore whether or not you think blank is a mental illness. That's outrageous, right? Okay. So let's look at the terms I've put here. And I know that, they're making it harder for me to talk, but pay attention. So what is JEU? What's the difference between a Jew and JEU? Okay, well, a Jew refers to every single Jew. Every last one. That's what the word refers to, right? But the term JEU refers to the idea that, well, first of all, almost everybody is doing the wrong thing and should be chastised, right? So the JEU refers to the idea that all Jews are on the broad path and not obeying God. Yet some try to be more sincere. And then my mother, as far as I know, is part Jewish. So she's the one person who's the exception. So instead of saying all Jews, it pinpoints exactly what the situation is. Now keep in mind, Christianity is not banned. And it says that most people are sinners. And people have interpretations. Some people think the Jews are black. Some think they're Jewish. Some think that they're white people. Some think that they're gay. There's all kinds of arguments being made here. Some people have an occult interpretation. Some people think the Book of Mormon is magically valid, so on and so forth. So the idea of JEU is an attempt to bend over backwards to avoid that racial, being stigmatized as a racist when I'm simply stating the facts that we all know. My belief in regards to God and is based on universal pinpoint and moral precision in the evidence. And the evidence shows us that they're all on the broad path and some tried to be sincere. And then there's my mother, who in a sense at least is the one exception. That's it. Okay? The Bible is a story with morals. I've proven that a million times over. It's figurative. See Amos 9:7, when they point to the Cushites. Okay, when you look in terms of works, right? Martin Luther King goes beyond all the Jews in America. That's one black guy, goes beyond all of them. So when we look at the works, we look at everything, it strongly screams that I'm right about this. So that is my religious argument, okay? And it also has cultural implications as such. And as such, it should be very much allowed. Keep in mind that white people, for example, subtly are arguing and conditioning you at every turn to believe that white people are superior. It's a Judeo-Christian culture, which means they're subtly at every turn, subtly and otherwise, trying to make you think that they're superior. The black guy dies in the movies, the statues. There's been a lot of literature written about this. A lot of studies have been done that show us that we live in a society of white supremacy, right? White denial, white fragility, white guilt, okay? And there's never been a counter-argument. Is the culture white heavy? Are there a bunch of politicians that say, oh, so what? They'll get over it and stuff? Yes, period. Okay? And are they doing all kinds of fucked up things? You betcha. Are there generational ill-gotten gains? You betcha. Is that one of the things they deny? You betcha. Okay. So you see, I had to say all that instead of just saying it the first. Instead of just saying Jew, I have to say JEU, because society is so racist and they're so opposed to me getting my rightful place that they're going to censor me for trying to explain it in a way that everyone would explain it. Jews themselves would explain it if they were telling the truth. Everyone. And countless Jews do explain it that way. Countless white people, behind the scenes and otherwise. But yet if I explain it directly in a way where you think of it the same way, basically as JEU, without directly pointing to that, saying there's the distinction, to tiptoe through the tulips with a bunch of racist, Nazi grammar, Nazi behavior, Nazi oppressors, that they'll take my videos down. And so it is with exploring the idea of whether or not any group as a group is mentally ill if that group is protected. Okay? That is a scientific argument that's being made. It's not a racist argument. If I was to say, hey, that the LGBT community was mentally blank, we'll say, you see how I got to tip to the tulips when it's just, I'm just even exploring it right now. I'm not saying one way or the other. You see that? That is outrageous. Why do I feel the need to do that? You think I'm wrong to feel the need to do that? No, I'm right to feel the need to do that. I just got a video taken down for superficial reasons. Now, the other word is WHYTE. It refers to the argument that all white people have been are on, and almost certainly will be, after my flesh dies, if it ends this way, then they will be, on the broad path to destruction. But one, which is my mother, she's blameless, and some came close. Okay? So now think about my Royal African Falcon martial art order argument. The argument being made here is extremely logical. If there was never any religion anywhere, everyone would basically see it my way. Some people would be jealous and act like bitches. And that's my argument about how history went. They say, look, there's one guy who conveys focused moral intensity, and God is all good, all knowing, all powerful, and this is an obstacle course. Okay, you look at the obstacle course, right? Some of the things represent like a snake that's made a circle of itself, like those little tires that the military runs through. Okay, very similar. You got to climb over things in their obstacle course, right? There's trees. Okay, there's things you got to climb over in the jungle, what have you. Okay, so life, the world is like an obstacle course, and the Royal African Falcon martial art order was set apart to lead mankind. That's what's fair. Mind, body, soul, and spirit. Open and shut, no other way it could be. Religions confuse you about that. In order for me to clarify that, I have to say that every other group is wrong. And there's three groups that are pushing the hardest to argue that they're magically right when they're not. And those are whites. Those are WHYTE people. Those are JEU people. And those are, the LGBT people, we'll say. Okay, them as a group, some part of their group, they're pushing the hardest to try to make it seem like I'm magically wrong when I'm right. You see what I'm saying? And you see how much of a pain it is to explain this. Now, part of that has to do with mental illness. And I'm not saying any of these groups are mentally ill in this video, but no matter how you slice it, some people have obsessive compulsive disorder. Some people disassociate. Okay, some people have psychopathic disorder, sexual sadist disorder. Some people are narcissists. Some people are sociopaths. These things factor in. And they're conditioning people as groups to be like them. Now, I'm going to stop it right there, because instead of telling you what is extremely important, I have to wonder if they're going to take down this video. You see what I'm saying? So look at the two scenarios. Let's say there was a group of people that was green. Okay, and I'm not talking about Irish people, right? I mean actually green skin. And they were all mentally ill, and they've usurped everyone, took power. Okay, and you live in a free country. Should you be allowed to point that out? Yes. What if someone are poor? It doesn't change the fact. They're all mentally ill. You need to, you have a right to point that out. That transcends their right to say, well, that's going to stigmatize us. Well, you live in a society that's designed to stigmatize people of color. That's the design that's still there to this day. You're not scrambling to fix that. You're not scrambling to, end homelessness. You're not scrambling, and the homeless people are very vulnerable. You're not scrambling to end gang violence. But you're going to scramble to prevent a mental health debate of the utmost importance? That's sick.